Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be back in studio with the very famous and indomitable. ¿Tú sabes cómo se dice indomitable?
Indominante.
Indominable.
Indominable. Y abominable también a veces.
La indominable Andrea Gómez. Así que.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Welcome
Hey,
back.
it's good to be back. Well, not really. I kind of misjudged the traffic. So, I got here on Colombian time.
I know. He got here at the Colombian time, no military
not
time.
Not on military time. I got here on Colombian time. But it's probably the first time in 3 years I've been a minute and 27 seconds late.
It's okay.
I apologize. We have an exciting show today. This is our weekly TLC live. TLC's Texas Latino Conservatives. We're a growing Texas general purpose PAC where we recruit, we encourage, and we support young candidates like Roman Garcia in Kerrville, Texas, our youngest elected city councilman, or Freddie Arellano, one of our youngest county Republican Party chair down in Maverick County. We recruit and educate and encourage other young people like what's his name down in not Pearland, but the other city councilman
Edgar Pacheco.
Well, Ed got around for the school board, but his neighbor that worked on the PAC with us.
Sí.
Joel Castro was also a young 18-year-old city councilman, mayor pro tem. So if you're interested as a young conservative Latino in getting involved in politics, reach out to us. Go to our website and go through one of our seminars, one of our classes. It's called Leadership Latino. It's on our webpage, and if you'll look up on the right, and it says Leadership Latino, click on that and join us for the next class. We have classes all over Texas, Plano, Lubbock. We're going to go to El Paso. We've had them down in the RGV, the Rio Grande Valley. We've had them in Houston. We're going to have them in San Antonio. We're very involved. So we have a general purpose PAC that we kind of fire up around election time to support and endorse candidates and actually give them money, give them donations when they need them. But we also have an LLC that we operate as a 501c4, a nonprofit organization in which we educate the community about political issues. We don't advocate for candidates. We don't ask them to vote for particular candidates, but we highlight candidates and their issues and their backgrounds and their bios, sort of as an inspiration for the rest of the young people, because really this has a snowball effect. When people are watching the program and they see young people like Monica de la Cruz, or they'll see Mayra Flores, or they'll see Gideon Salazar, the three young people that we have running for Congress who incidentally are on our show today, or when they see Joel Castro, or when they see Roman Garcia, and they're thinking, dang, these 18, 19, 20-year-olds are getting elected to run cities and school boards. They get inspired. They realize that there are conservative Latinos in this state, and that's what this state needs. And so that's what we want to do through our nonprofit. So the nonprofit is paying for this program today. We're not endorsing any of these candidates through the nonprofit today. We're not asking you to vote for them. We are asking you to vote. We are asking you to register and participate in the political process. And if you happen to live in the congressional districts of the 3 congressional candidates that we're fortunate enough to have today, we want you to register and vote in their district. We're not going to tell you how to vote. We always say vote your values. But as a nonprofit, we can't endorse and we can't tell you how to vote. So hopefully what we're going to do is get you engaged. If you like these candidates and you live in the Rio Grande Valley or you live around the North Dallas area, then go to these candidates' website. Volunteer. They need block walkers. They need people to make phone calls. They need people to organize events when they go to events and do speeches. They need people to drive them around sometime in town, because a candidate can't be driving, let's say, down in Harlingen in traffic, being on the phone, doing emails, checking texts, driving at the same time. So candidates often need a volunteer to help them drive around town. So if you have some extra time, become a driver or be a receptionist and greet people when they come to the campaign headquarters.
Or social media management.
Or get on social media. You can do it from home and take Monica and Gideon's and Mayra's websites or any of their tweets and retweet them or repost them. That's how you get involved. And that's how these candidates are going to win. So it's a really exciting morning. We have 3 folks that are running for Congress. They all have unique stories. they're all either immigrants or children of immigrants. For those that believe that, us that immigrate to this country don't make a contribution, you're going to be shocked after today's program because both your host and hostess are immigrants. Mi colombiana, mi
Colombiana.
vecina en el Caribe, porque Colombia es considerado parte del Caribe, ¿no?
Pues tenemos parte en el Océano Atlántico, sí. Está Cartagena.
Yeah.
Sí, tenemos parte.
They copy everything the Cubans do. They make empanadas.
Estamos en los dos mares, en el Océano Atlántico y el Pacífico.
They dance our music. So does Venezuela, too. Los venezolanos nos roban todo, pero lo único que nosotros cubanos no hacemos son arepas. Eso es lo que le gustan a ustedes, right?
Nos encantan las arepas, sí.
So I'm going to give Andrea, the indomitable Andrea Gomez, the pleasure of introducing our candidates. And I think we have our congressional candidate, Gideon Salazar.
So we have three today. It's Gideon Salazar, Mónica de la Cruz. She's running for U.S. Congress, Texas District 15. Mayra Flores, did you guys already familiar with her? She's running for Congress, District 34.
Both of those in the Rio Grande Valley.
They are in the Rio Grande Valley, but we're going to start today with Gideon Salazar, who's running for Congress to represent Texas in the 32nd Congressional District. And welcome, Gideon. ¿Cómo estás? Buenos días.
Muy bien. Buenos días. Gracias por tenerme aquí con ustedes hoy en día. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're delighted to have you, Gideon. And, there's some funny stories I want to tell people because a lot of folks don't know about our background. When Texas Latino Conservatives first got started, Gideon was, with the team, with helping organize. And our very first Leadership Latino, which at the time, many years ago, that we held in Houston, right, Gideon?
Yep.
We called it the Speakers Bureau. It was modeled after another successful political action committee.
Right.
And Gideon organized that first one, which was very successful. We probably had about 50 people show up. Andrea, you were there.
I was there. I was taking videos and helping.
So Gideon is very familiar with what we do. Gideon has a fabulous story, a beautiful wife, and so Gideon...
And a beautiful daughter now.
And congratulations.
Congratulations.
Papá. Ahora es un papá.
Ahora es papá. Tell us a little bit of your story, your background, and why you decide to run for this position.
Well, thank you so much, Orlando and Andrea, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to see the work that you're doing and to see the impact that it's having across our state. And when we get elected to Congress, you're going to have an impact across our nation as well. I am a Texas native, and I was born in Houston. I grew up in San Antonio. I came to school in the DFW area, and then afterwards, I served as a missionary for a year in Mexico, and I came back working on my master's. I joined the military at the time, so I served in the United States Navy for 8 years in the reserves and did a couple of mobilizations, and I started a PhD program, and I'm here in the Dallas area now, and it's a joy to start a family. I have a beautiful wife. She's an amazing researcher at Rice University. She's an SMU grad. And I have a beautiful daughter, Salome, who is months away from walking. But as a father, I'm just so proud of everything she does when she laughs, when she smiles. And to your question, Andrea, why have I decided to run? Well, I think it's time. It's time for conservatives to stand up and look at our nation. We say, I don't like the path it's on. I'm not, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what kind of America is my daughter going to inherit? Is it an America where Americans are dependent on the government? Is it an America where we're still living in perpetual fear? I don't want that for my child. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for our future. And I think the path that President Biden has us on is just not healthy for us. And so we want to bring prosperity, opportunity, and strength back to America. We need it here in Texas, but across the nation, we need it even more.
So basically, conservative principles, Gideon. Limit the size of government, follow the Constitution. What is not, specifically outlined that is a power of the federal government, reserve it to the states, and focus on the individual, not on government, right?
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think we have, and rightly so. I mean, we're people built for community, and our tendency can want to be to always think collectively, and I think we should always have that collective mindset and be aware of other people's struggles and be aware of other people's needs. But at the same time, I think the government is not the answer for solving all of those problems. We have amazing nonprofits. We have an amazing private sector that have been responding to people's needs, that have been building up our nation since its inception. And I think oftentimes the tendency can want to be to step in and say, well, they're not, our private sector, our nonprofit sector isn't doing a great enough job. Let's delegate it to the government. But that's not our mindset. We know that as Americans, we're strong. We know that we built America through our individual efforts, through our collective efforts that were not always endorsed by the government, but things that we did just coming together as a community. And so we want to remind government its responsibility to protect the individual, to protect individual rights and liberties. And I think with that mindset, we can have a healthy nation.
You know, and I love your how you talk about that we build the country collectively, because I know that you're including everybody, and it's something that amazes me how, you know, the media just swoops down on anything that's divisive, right? And then they blow that up, and they want Americans to believe that we're all divided, that, you know, that all conservatives hate BLM and don't understand what the message is, or that all conservatives hate, you know, the LGBT. And frankly, I'm here to tell you that me as a conservative, I don't hate anybody, and I appreciate every contribution that every American of every color, of every stripe, of every sexual orientation has made to this country. As Gideon says, we built this together. Gideon has served in the U.S. Navy. I've served in the United States Air Force. We served side by side with people that were U.S. citizens, U.S. residents. I've served with African Americans from Mahia, Texas, that are still friends of mine. I've served with Filipinos. I've served with Mexican Americans from New Mexico that I'm still friends with. I enjoyed serving in the United States military because we were all fighting for that flag, for the Constitution, for liberty, and we did it in the way that is America. It was a diverse military, and people don't realize that. And it's one of the beauties of serving in the military, that you get to know all these cultures and all these differences, but we all have one flag on our shoulder, right, Gideon? It's the United States flag.
Right.
It's the stars and stripes.
You know, and they say there's only one color in the military, and that's the color of our uniform. And it does unite us. And I remember in boot camp just being exposed, just the individuals and their different backgrounds, their different stories, yet we come together for one mission, for one fight, and that is to defend America, to defend the Constitution. And I think we need to have that mindset to understand that we don't all have to think alike. We don't all have to dress alike. We don't all have to have the same beliefs and values, and even religion. I served as a religious program specialist in the Navy. And so it was my job to serve a plethora of religious groups. And they weren't necessarily in line with my religious views, but I was charged to serve them. And that's what I did well. And that's what I'm going to do in Congress. And that's what our nation needs to do, is figure out how can we serve our diverse makeup of the United States without compromising the diversity, and without saying that you have to think a certain way, you have to believe a certain way, and you have to act a certain way. But we can do that, and I believe our nation will be much healthier if we do that.
Gideon, describe us the 32nd Congressional District, you know, for people that probably are not familiar with the distribution of the districts and what it is, the area that it covers.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do my best to describe it without having to describe its actual shape. It almost looks like a T-bone steak, if I could say anything. It's kind of a weird district, but you know, the Congressional District 32 is just a district that is known for prosperity. It's home to some of the wealthiest districts, precincts in our state. At the same time, it encompasses some outlying areas that are just right outside the Dallas area, and it's known for prosperity. It's known for opportunity, and it's just a makeup of individuals. They want to see their nation back on track. They want to see the businesses. They don't want to see, you know, closed signs or for sale signs across the storefronts of their businesses. They want to see them open. They don't want to see their tax dollars going to fund a wasteless spending. There is a $4 trillion bill on the table right now that's being discussed in Congress, and they are pushing back on that bill because there's a lot of things that aren't infrastructure. And so they want to see their country be prosperous. They want to see their country with opportunity. They want to see their country strong. But in order to do that, they don't want to see their tax dollars wasted on spending that is not covering what it says it's going to cover. And that's just a small picture of what our district is and what is important to them.
Well, Gideon, if you're going to stick around, I understand you need to jump off early and jump off anytime you want, but we're going to bring in
I've got a few more minutes.
Huh?
I've got
still have a couple
Oh,
of
okay,
minutes.
great. Well, stick around and then jump in anytime you want. But now let's move down to the Rio Grande Valley, right? We're all over. And I think we have Mayra Flores.
We have Mayra Flores, who recently visited us here in Houston.
Okay.
And we were attending an event last week. And I think, yeah, we have pictures of that event. And we have a really good turnout. You know, people came to say hi to Mayra, to get to know her. She gave a beautiful speech. She talked about immigration. That was one of the questions, and I want her to address that. And I love her answer, but I'm not gonna say what she said because I want her to talk about it. But it was a beautiful event, and it was hosted for one of our dear friends, Mano de Ayala, and unfortunately, you were not here, but you were coming back from Montana that day. But the Texas Latino Conservatives were there to supporting Mayra as we've been doing from day one. So welcome, Mayra Flores. Bienvenida, Mayra. Qué rico fue verte la semana pasada.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
So
Muchas
talking
gracias.
about Mayra, sorry I missed you, but I heard you did a fabulous job. And our friends over at Hispanic Republicans of Texas, HRT, another general purpose Hispanic PAC in Texas that we work closely with, jumped in to help Mayra and try to raise some money. And folks, some of our young candidates are not as aggressive as I am. I will be. These candidates depend on contributions from you. So
Yes.
each of them on their webpage will have a donate button. If you like these candidates after this program, go to their webpage and make a donation. No donation is too small. $10 will buy a lot of stamps. Those stamps they can send to their neighbors and talk about their issues. If you can afford to send them 100, that's fine. 1,000 is even better. There are limits in federal races, but you can do your part. If you like these candidates, support them financially. They need it. So, Mayra, welcome. It's great to see you. We need to come down back to the Rio Grande Valley, and we plan to do that. But
Yes.
as Andrea said,
Thank you.
you talked a little bit about the immigration issue. We know that your husband is involved. I don't know if he's with ICE or CBP, or you can tell us about it. But you and also Monica live in an area that is heavily impacted by what's going on down at the border. So talk to us a little bit about your campaign. First of all, tell the first-time viewers a little bit about your background, where you're from, where your parents were from, where you went to high school, what got you inspired to run as a conservative down in the Rio Grande Valley. Talk about some of the issues and then update us on about the immigration situation.
Sure, thank you. Well, once again, thank you for having me. I actually was born and raised with very humble beginnings in Mexico. My parents and grandparents raised me with very strong conservative values. I was blessed to come to the United States legally thanks to my father when I was 6 years old. And I will forever be grateful to my father. He gave me the biggest gift, the gift of becoming a proud naturalized American citizen. And it really all started here, here in South Texas, and why I decided to run for District 34. District 34 is a district that I grew up in, that I was raised in, and is a district that I want to see prosper. And I'm running for the children of South Texas. I want better opportunities for them. For so long, our children have to leave South Texas for better opportunities, and I want those opportunities here. I want people to come here to South Texas um, to have a better future and not have to leave South Texas.
Mayra, your husband, that I have an honor to meet him. He is a border patrol agent, and you were talking about immigration in that event that you came on last week. So tell us about, not only because you care about immigration to this country, the
Of
immigration
course.
issues in this country, but also it's just right there in your house that you have a husband that is dealing every single day with this.
Absolutely. It's really heartbreaking. And what's happening right now in South Texas, it shouldn't be about Republicans or Democrats. It's really a humanitarian issue. We've had over 50,000 children coming in through our borders without their parents. And I remember coming in here to United States legally, and I have a beautiful memory, and I want that for every child. I don't want no child to have to go through this horrible journey of being abused, of being raped. That's not what I want for these children. I want for them to come here legally. And that is why I focus on the legal process. And I want to encourage more people to follow the law. But at the same time, I believe that our process is outdated. We need to look at this process and see what we can do to encourage more people to come here legally, not illegally, because a lot of people don't understand. We understand here in South Texas, but a lot of people outside our district don't understand that illegal immigration also funds the cartel, the same cartel that is terrorizing Mexico and that is also hurting us here in this country. So these people are paying $8,000 to $10,000. They're making more money in human trafficking than in drugs. At this moment, their focus is human trafficking, is getting these children here into the United States. And what guarantees us that we are handing these children to their families, to their parents? There's no guarantee. The best thing that we could do is send these children back to their real families, because maybe not purposely, of course, we're not giving these children to a child trafficker, but it's happening. We're not 100% that these are their mom, their dad. So the best thing we could do is send them back. I know that
Think we're losing her.
I think we lost her.
We lost her audio.
Yeah.
Mayra, I don't know if you can hear us, but we lost your audio.
We'll come back to her. Is Monica on?
I think is Monica on, Mark?
Monica, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, so
Okay,
while
great.
we try to figure out Mayra's audio issue, Monica de la Cruz, next door pretty much down in South Texas, we're delighted to have her. Monica ran for Congress before and came very close to becoming our congresswoman down in South Texas. And just like a hardworking Latina conservative, guess what? Mayra's not quitting. Monica's not quitting. Monica wasn't scared off. She is doubling down, and she's coming back. So, Andrea, you want to introduce Monica de la Cruz?
Monica de la Cruz is running for U.S. Congress, Texas District 15. And I know, Monica, you are on your way to on a trip, and like a last-minute trip. We thank you so much for your time, and I know you're trying to do your best. So tell us a little bit about your background and why you decide to run for this position.
Yes, thank you. Well, my background is I'm originally from Brownsville, Texas. I was born and raised by a single mother who really just taught us love of country. You see, my grandfather, as an immigrant, served in the Navy in World War II. And my brother served 20 years in the United States Air Force. You know, I feel very blessed that I live in such a great country where women of all colors and shapes, sizes, backgrounds can be successful. And I'll tell you this, I'm actually on a business. I own with my husband 3 small businesses, one of which is in Houston area. And I've had a little emergency there that has brought me to Houston so that I can take care of that. And what a great country that female, Hispanic, or from the border can have these opportunities in this great country.
Well, welcome to Houston. If you're around today, certainly reach out to us. We'd love to have a cup of coffee or grab a bite to eat with you, or maybe Andrea can take you to eat a Colombian empanada. She loves them.
Oh, my favorite. I'll come back just for that.
Monica, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to run for Congress. And I happen to have a lot of friends down there in the Brownsville area who are very frustrated because there was a lot of the GOP that did not, they were behind you, but they didn't really get fired up. And I understand you lost that congressional seat narrowly. And this is why I'm so excited that you've decided to double down and refile and come back and fight for that victory.
You're exactly right. In 2020, we were a pure grassroots campaign. We received no help from the national party or the state party. And you know what? I can understand why. The last Republican candidate that ran in District 15, he lost by 20 points, actually 21 points. So I know when people are looking at congressional seats all across this great nation, they look at a 21% loss and say, well, that's nearly impossible to overcome. And so what they discounted was that the Hispanic energy, the South Texas energy, and people who are understanding that their values are more closely aligned with the Republican and conservative movement were moving in the right direction. And we had hundreds of volunteers from McAllen, Texas, all the way to New Braunfels that put in blood, sweat, and tears to swing this district 18 points. Can you
Wow.
believe that? 18 points.
It's incredible.
And in Hidalgo County, where McAllen and Edinburgh, Texas are, we we actually doubled the Republican vote. So a lot of people from all over this district worked their tails off to swing this district 18 points, and I'm very proud of that effort.
Well, I mean, I heard about you, and it was amazing what you had done. And I'm going to say this, because I have a lot of people in the Republican Party that are consistently asking us, as because they know we're a PAC, and I'm sure HRT and RNHA and of all of our other friends, Libre, get all these questions. Well, how can we get more Hispanics involved? Folks, here it is. Here it is. You've got three are attractive, young, energized, conservative, Latino, patriotic American candidates willing to sacrifice themselves and their families to do a job that is arduous. Campaigning is not easy. Many people think that campaigning is glamorous, that we get up every day and we put on the powder, or, the ladies put on the
No.
makeup and put on nice dresses. It's about working hot South Texas.
Yeah.
It's about block walking. It's about holding rallies at a park when it's 109-degree heat index. It's about picking up the phone and calling and asking for money. The worst thing that a person can do is ask people for money all day. Could you imagine locking yourself up in a room for 8 hours and, as we call it, dialing for dollars because you've got to raise a budget of $1.5 million, and you got to ask people across the state of Texas for money, and you know that they've already received 5 phone calls that day from other candidates. It's not pleasant work, and these fine people do it because they're passionate about their community, they're passionate about their state, they're passionate about their country. And I can tell you that when they're elected, both Gideon and Mayra and Monica are going to work that hard in the United States Congress on your behalf, representing your conservative values. And so when Republicans ask me, what can we do to get more Latinos involved in the Republican Party? There you have it. These 3 attractive candidates are going to go out and spread the gospel, so to speak. Right, Gideon? Not the gospels of the of the Bible,
An
but the
entirely different
political
gospel.
the political gospel, right? And they're going to be talking to young Latinos, and they're going to be inspiring people. Monica and Mayra and Gideon are going to be inspiring young people, and I can tell you, because I always remember this story, and most of you guys are too young to remember this, but Bill Clinton always remembered meeting President John F. Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy inspired Bill Clinton to get into public life. And I can tell you that Mayra and Monica and Gideon are going to inspire 100, 200 kids in their districts that in 20 years, they're going to be doing the same thing because in their minds, they told themselves, I want to be like Monica, I want to be like Mayra, and I want to be like Gideon. And that's how we grow the Republican Party in Texas. That's how we keep conservative values in Texas. We find, we recruit, and we encourage these great candidates to run for office. It's that easy, folks. There's a lot of Republican parties, particularly in counties where we've lost everything, like in Bexar County, El Paso County, Dallas County, Harris County. They're all scratching their heads trying to figure out how do we grow the Republican Party in the Latino community. Here you have it. Great candidates, grow your party. And I can tell you, I'm really proud of all of you guys. I just think great things are going to happen because of you guys deciding to jump in.
And
do we have
hear.
Mayra back?
Yeah, we have them back. I want to hear from each one. What is the biggest challenge that you guys been facing with this campaign. You guys are very young and trying to fight this movement that we're seeing now in this country, and trying to, highlight your conservative values and talk about it. What is the biggest challenge that you guys been facing, and what we can tell other Latinos that probably are watching this program, are considering to run for office because they're not liking what they're seeing in this country? Let's start
Well,
with
for
Girien
me,
or
okay, go
Mayra.
ahead.
Yeah, let's start with Mayra.
Well, here in South Texas, honestly, I thought it was going to be, it's very early, but talking to the people about my platform has been honestly the easiest. Now, working right now, a lot of people have been telling me it's too early. That's probably the biggest setback because everyone thinks that, I'm doing things way too early, but I truly believe that um, this is the first time uh, that I run, so I want to make sure that people see me working hard and that this is very important, not only for me but for them. So I want them to take me serious. But honestly, the people of here, South Texas, have been very welcoming. I've been knocking doors already, and these are people who voted Democrat all their life but never had a Republican knock their door and introduce themselves and talk about their platform, and they're willing to vote for you. They just did not know what the Republican Party stood for or ever had anyone from the Republican Party, stand in their door and talk about what they want to do for South Texas. So they voted Democrat because that's all they knew, but are willing to vote Republican now. So they give me inspiration, and they're the ones that give me hope. And I try to ignore the negativity about me doing things too early. We have a lot of going on, especially with the redistricting. So a lot of people are saying, why are you doing this? There's redistricting going on. Why are you educating people? I'm like, I don't lose anything educating people about the Republican Party's platform, the conservative values. So for me, let's just say if that area is no longer mine, it wasn't a loss. Whoever's going to be running in that area, I feel glad that I took the time to educate that community. Because for me, it's very important that the Hispanic community know exactly what they're voting for everyone, for the American people to know exactly what they're voting for. If they vote Democrat, if they vote Republican, I want them to know exactly what they're voting for. If they vote Republican, they're voting for God, life, family values, economic opportunities. We support the Second Amendment. We support securing our borders. We support our law enforcement. That's what you're going to get in the Republican Party. And I have nothing to say about the Democrat Party.
let's
You
hear
get
about
nothing.
let's hear about from Monica about the same topic.
So your question was, what is one of the biggest challenges? And I'm going to say the message that I give to the American people, to the Texans who are listening to this, and to the people of South Texas, my message to them is don't wait. Don't wait to volunteer because all candidates can use help. Don't wait to get involved. If you love your country and you've ever thought about running for a position, don't wait. Do it now. And thirdly, don't wait to give a financial donation because those dollars are needed. We cannot begin this campaign war in 2022 or we will lose. We must begin our campaign war right now. We must fill our financial war chest right now.
Hmm.
And so, my message to people is do not wait, do it now.
Great. So for you, Girien.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for what Monica and for Myra have said. And, I echo some of those sentiments. Some of the things that we hear is it's too early. It's not the right time. You're not the right candidate. Maybe you're not the right, maybe you're the right candidate, but maybe for another district. But the question we must ask, if not now, then when? If not me, or if not Myra or Monica, then who? And who's going to represent our voice? And so I think the biggest challenge that we as candidates face, and this is the reason why we run, is to earn the trust of individuals. And we're always going to have to remind people that you can trust me. You can trust that I'm going to represent your voice. You're going to trust that I'm going to represent your values. And we have to convince people and persuade people that that is our job, is to represent you, to listen to you, to understand what your needs are, to understand what your concerns are, and trust that I, as I candidate for Texas Congressional District 32, will represent those values. And it's not I'm a Hispanic candidate only going to represent Hispanic values, but I am a Hispanic candidate and I'm going to represent American values. I'm going to represent CD32. I'm going to represent Dallas. I'm going to represent Texas and our nation. And I have to earn that trust, and that's our job.
Yeah, look, I love what Maida said that, people criticize it's too early. As you guys know, I've been in politics for 25 years. Criticism abounds. People will criticize you from the left. People will criticize you from the right. People will criticize you for making this decision and that decision. Look, my advice to you guys is follow your gut. Your gut always will tell you the way to go. If something doesn't look right, don't do it. Don't get involved in it. And if you believe it's the right time, and I love what Monica said, that if she's out block walking and she educates a young family about the values of conservatism and what the Republican Party stands for, and that they need to be aware that if they vote this way, you get this, and if you vote that way, you will get that. And even if she loses that portion of the district, she might be able to pass it off to Monica. That's community service. That's what a community service-oriented public servant thinks about, right? It's not just about me. It's about helping the community. And Maida hit the nail on the head. I mean, somebody over there in the RGV, even after redistricting, which will take place in September when they call the special session, and thank God, you guys, that the Republicans kept the legislature in Texas. That means we are in charge of redistricting. I know there'll be lawsuits, but hopefully we'll do it equitably according to the law, and that you guys will have your districts solidly in place, ready to go campaign. And
we need to do a full show about this because people need
about redistricting.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have somebody on and we'll talk about redistricting, because a lot of our viewers don't understand that every 10 years, based on the census, we have to reapportion the districts. We have to balance them. It's like, making sure that things don't get out of whack, right? So you have to have sort of equal representation in terms of population. And then there are other things that come in, like demographics and ethnicity and voting rights. So it's a little complicated. We'll brief you guys on it. But for these candidates, I admire you guys. It's never too early. There's a saying in English that the early bird gets the worm. And I'm proud that you guys are stepping up. And in a lot of politics is, you other opponents that may be considering running in the primary are looking at you guys and saying, I can't believe that, Monica and Maida and Gideon are out there block walking in June of 2021 for a race, next year. And it doesn't matter. I salute you guys for
Thank you.
como dicen los mexicanos, por tener las ganas.
Well, a lot of what we're able to do is because of what you've been able to do, Orlando, in empowering and helping to empower other Latinos, and Andrea helping to empower other Latinos to have the courage, to have the gall, even just to have the confidence and to say, now is the time. So we appreciate it. I know I've got to get going.
Yeah, Gideon, I was going to say that I know you have to leave. So just, send a message, your last words on your platform and your campaign.
And share your website.
What? Well, I look forward to serving, representing Congressional District 32. You can visit right now. My Facebook page is at Salazar for Congress. At the same thing, my Twitter handle is Salazar Congress. My Instagram is Salazar for Congress. My website is currently under construction right now. I'm looking forward to the campaign that's going to take off. But I appreciate your support. Please follow me on my Facebook at Salazar for Congress. And I look forward to representing the District of 32, Texas, and our nation at Washington, D.C.
And make sure you help your wife change enough diapers so that when you're out campaigning, you'll say, look, I've got a lot of credits on diapers.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to do that right now, actually.
God bless you. Take care, Gideon. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Muchas gracias.
All right. So I think that Monica and Maida can stay with us the rest of the 15
Woman
minutes.
power.
Yeah. Okay.
Surrounded about women, you always.
That I don't mind.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a very fortunate and lucky man. I will admit. So, Monica, are you in Houston today, or are you headed back to the RGV?
Both. I just flew into Houston, and I'll be heading back this afternoon after I get the business done here at the office.
Okay, great. Well, I hope you, you know, manage to take care of all the business and then get back to raising money and work in the district. So, talk to us, Monica. Explain for those that are watching that don't understand how close you came last cycle. Tell us about that election.
Yes, it was a very exciting election. As I mentioned earlier, in 2018, the last Republican candidate lost by 21%. We swung the district to 18%. So we ended up falling short just 2.8%. That's 6,500 votes. Because of this, we were the most competitive congressional district in the entire state of Texas and the third most competitive in the nation. Now, why that's so impressive is because of something you mentioned earlier today, is that this was a pure grassroots movement. We didn't have any help or any big monies from PACs. We didn't have the state or the national parties' help. This was all small dollar individual donors that just believed so much in the values that I represent. And so I'm really proud to say that, we were very competitive. And now, because of that competitiveness, we are one of three districts the NRCC and the state party is already targeting and already putting advertisement against my opponent.
And you guys also were campaigning in the middle of the pandemic, so that was another biggest challenge that you were facing, Monica.
I was very blessed that I was down here in deep South Texas in Hidalgo, where people are so warm and they wanted to have the conversation. They were happy that someone was actually knocking on their door, asking them about how they felt and what they needed during this pandemic. So, when you think about a pandemic and nobody was going out, they were so appreciative that a person cared enough about the community that they would knock on their door, even at the risk that was involved with this, and ask questions about what people in the community were thinking. And so I found it to be a very warm welcome from people in the community.
And everybody was at home, so that was a good, that was a
Yes.
plus also.
It's a great time to block walk. I agree. Is there a lot of similarities, Monica and Maida, between your districts with respect to uh, the geopolitics, the ethnicity, the economic opportunities? Are there similarities or are there big differences, or both?
Look, I believe that they are very similar district. On the south end of the district, you have a large Hispanic and bilingual population, and then towards the north, more of a Caucasian population. I think that what's great about Maida's district and my district is that people are having in Hidalgo, in Cameron County, they're having an awakening and they're having it together.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there's this border crisis that's happening. There is a humanitarian crisis that's happening
Mm-hmm.
that is waking the people up to really reflect what their values are and how they align or don't align with the Democrat Party. And I think that for myself specifically, I'm a walkaway Democrat. And I have found that to be such a great tool in speaking to people about where I come from, how I was raised as a Democrat, and how I evolved to have a better understanding of where my values really lie with the Republican Party. And that is the party of the people.
That's a similar story with Mayra. Mayra, you told us about that also, so you can share with us.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with Monica. Our districts are very similar, and there was a big awakening here as well. And it's because of the President Trump. President Trump from 2016 to 2020 had an 83% increase in votes. So that's where I saw the potential in my district. I was like, if President Trump was able to do this, I can do this in this district and win in 2022. He only lost by 3%. And people are excited in District 34. People are excited to finally have, and I don't mean that in no disrespect to previous Republican candidate, but they're excited to have someone that is actually going to go out there and block walk, phone back, fundraise, that is actually knocking doors, getting people together. People are excited, working together with Hidalgo County as well. Hidalgo County, I do have a portion as well at this moment that is part of District 34. So Hidalgo County, Cameron County, and all the way to Gonzales. Every county is very important for me. I will visit every county before the redistricting. A lot of people tell me don't come to the district until the redistricting is done. I disagree. I want to be there. Like I mentioned before, I think it's important. And if that district it stays with me, great. If it doesn't, it wasn't a waste of time. Educating our community, educating the American people, it's never a waste of time.
I just want to mention that because I think it's important. Both Monica and Mayra have mentioned this about values. Our values, at least from the Hispanic culture, I don't care if you're, Mexican American, Salvadoreño, Guatemalteco, Venezolano, Colombian, whatever, the Latino community tends to really drive values into their children. And when we get to the age of, you like Mayra and Gideon, and so, our values are set. And so what you're seeing happening in a lot of counties in Texas is this phenomenon of both Mayra and Monica admit they were, parents were Democrats, they were Democrats, but their values haven't changed. At one time, the Democrats in South Texas had the great values of family, of faith, of freedom, of individual liberty, of giving, even if it's just whatever your business is, it doesn't matter if you're a farm worker or a pharmacist, it was about the individual and supporting the individual. That Democratic Party has left Texas long, long time ago. It's a party now of chaos. It's a party of honoring the weird stuff that are not our values, and good for them. A party can honor anything they want to honor. But what's happening is that the Democratic Party is leaving the Latino community. And I tell candidates all the time, because I see a lot of young, conflicted Latino candidates that are Democrats because their grandparents are Democrats and their mom and dad were Democrats, and that there's still Democrats in Texas that are good, solid conservatives, like Senator Eddie Lucio, a dear friend of mine, former county treasurer down in Nueces County. But that party is leaving. And so what happens is that you have a lot of these young Latinos like Gideon, like Roman, like Monica, like Mayra, like Andrea, that we're left going, where do we go? Where do we go? And so they're discovering that what they're reading in the media about the Republican Party, because, if you listen to the media and CNN and MSNBC, we're all racist.
Yeah.
We're all anti-immigrant. We're all haters. We're all revolutionaries. And we believe in revolutions, but we believe in revolutions at the ballot. And that's what's going on in Texas. There is a revolution going on among young conservative Latinos, and they're realizing that there is no room for them in the Democratic Party. And that's the shift, folks. It's not rocket science. It's that our values are not lining up with what we're seeing. What we're seeing, not what the media is telling us, right, Monica and Mayra? It's what we're seeing with our very own eyes. Because I know that Monica and I know that Mayra don't depend on the stuff that MSNBC, CNN, even Fox News sometimes, or Telemundo Univision put out. It's what we see. It's personal observation. And what we're seeing doesn't reconcile with what the Democratic Party is trying to say. They're saying, oh, yeah, y'all are traditional Democrats, keep working that way. But, oh, by the way, our values are going this way. And so many of the people down in South Texas, all over Texas, todos los Tejanos, they're saying, goodbye, man. That's not for me.
Absolutely. A lot of people tell me, do not spend any time in Bronzeville. And I strongly disagree. They say the people of Bronzeville will not vote Republican. And again, I disagree. I've been working the Bronzeville area for many, many, many years. The people are very hardworking, very welcoming. They're willing to listen. The people just didn't, from the Republican Party, just didn't take the time to go out there.
Absolutely.
And that was a problem.
And let me
I
give
know
you
my
guys,
community.
yeah.
Nobody can tell me that they're not going to vote. No, we just didn't reach out. That was the problem. We need to invest in the Hispanic community. And, I asked the Republican Party to please invest in the Hispanic community. We need you to be on Telemundo and Univision and educating the community on the
Yeah,
Republican Party's platform in Spanish,
yeah.
and not advocating for a candidate, but just educating how the Republican Party is pro God, pro life, pro family.
Yeah.
These are our core values. That's
Totally,
all I
totally
ask.
agree.
Yeah. And I was going to
Yes.
say,
And I used to work at Univision, Mayra, and I'm gonna tell you something. On all my years covering news and politics, and we hardly see candidates from the Republican Party investing in educating the community or commercials or spots in Spanish
Right.
language. And actually, lately, doing things for the PAC, we tried to buy time on Telemundo or Univision, and they were like in shock, like, oh, this is the first time in years that we see somebody from the Republican Party investing in our station. So definitely, you got a great point.
and Myra, I want to say, because, as the old man in the crowd, right? What good am I if I don't impart some of my personal experiences with the young people running for office? And Andrea is here to corroborate what I'm about to tell you. In 2001, when I ran for mayor of Houston against an incumbent with several $1 million in the bank, and I had zero, the naysayers, Maida, would say the same thing as they say to you, don't go to Brownsville because the people in Brownsville aren't going to vote conservative. In Houston, they would say the Mexican American community is not going to vote for a conservative Cuban immigrant, especially a Republican one. Let me tell you, ladies, and Andrea's here to corroborate, we doubled we doubled the Hispanic turnout. The Hispanic turnout for municipal races in the city of Houston in 2001 was just 7% of the total vote. We reached almost 15%. So imagine doubling an ethnic vote is quite a task. But not only that, ladies, we received over 73% of the Latino vote went for the Latino candidate, in spite of the fact that the local media kept reminding them that I was a conservative Republican Cuban immigrant. And so don't let the naysayers, Maida is absolutely correct. Roll up your sleeves, go knock those doors. There may be two doors that'll be slammed on your face because they're diehard, dyed in the wood, liberal Democrats. There's nothing we can do about that. But there will be 7 or 8 that will listen to you and say, wow, I've never had that happen. I've never had a conservative young lady talk to me about values that I think are important. And I can tell you, ladies, because y'all are too young, that the first senator elected as a Republican in Texas after Reconstruction was John Tower. And John Tower, before he passed away, credited the help of the Latino community, especially in South Texas, for his victory in the United States Senate. So don't let anyone tell you not to campaign in diverse communities. Go there, talk to them, spread the political gospel, share your values. This is how we're going to build a bigger, better, conservative party in Texas, which will include a crapload of Latinos from every corner of the world.
And you guys highlight something very important: education. If we don't educate our community, um, education is the key. I mean, it's nothing else to do but educating, and doesn't matter if it's too early. It's never too early. It's never too early for education. Education is the key, and we need to educate our community. Our community is getting the education or the information or disinformation in the media,
Indoctrination.
and
Indoctrination.
and the schools and in the media, and that's wrong. So it's a hard work that we need to do. It's a every day doing this, but together we can do it.
All right, ladies, we
And
have 1 minute left. So here's what we're going to do. We're
I,
going to give 30 seconds to each of you to close out. But I want to say to both of you, I know how busy you are, Maida and Monica and Gideon. Thank you for joining us. We'll have you back many, many more times. But Maida, go ahead, take the last 30 seconds, and then Monica, you jump in and close out.
Well, thank you for having me. And all I ask South Texas is for them not to put their conservative values aside for a political party. Put your conservative values first. Put God, life, and family. I'm here for a better future for the children of South Texas. For you, I'm here to put District 34 first. thank you so much. And visit my page if you want to learn more about my campaign, Mayra Flores for Congress. I'm very active on Facebook, Instagram, also Twitter. I'm always available. Send a message and I'll be there and I'll reach out as soon as I can. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. God bless you, Maida. Monica?
Yes, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate your help in getting my message out to your listeners. I will say this to your listeners. Please do not wait. Get involved now. Make that donation today. Get involved as a volunteer because together we can make a difference and we can make history both in my district and in Maida's district. And the time to start is today. And I invite people to visit my website at monicaforcongress.us and my social media pages at Monica for Congress. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, Monica, be safe, safe travels, and we'll see you down in the RGV. We plan to go down there. Andrea, we're out of time, but let me tell you, I'm really excited. I'm
Oh
fired
my
up.
God,
These
yeah,
candidates,
it's
these
amazing.
ladies, Gideon, I mean, these are just solid Texans, solid human beings. And it just corroborates my feelings that our immigration system still works. You know, we're all immigrants or children of immigrants. Everyone you've seen on this program, a good immigration system works. It produces patriotic Americans, taxpayers, you know, flag loving, flag carrying. That's not going to change as long as we continue to inculcate the values of the Constitution, the values that this country stands for. Uh, we're going to be fine. So don't let people separate us. You know, as Gideon said, and it's Maida said, it's about community. You know, and like Gideon said, he served in the Navy. I served in the Air Force. We served with people of diverse colors, diverse backgrounds. We don't care. So we're all Americans, and we're all aiming to.
And we love this country.
Yeah, we love the country, and we want the best for our country. But more importantly, we want the best for our children. So today was an inspiring show. These kids, I call them kids because they're so young.
Yeah.
They're so amazing that it gives me comfort. I have a daughter that's 27, 28 years old, that if Maida, if Gideon, if Monica get elected, I'm comfortable. I know Texas will be in great shape. I know America will be in great shape. And I can rest comfortably 6 feet under.
I know, but we need to keep working to have more people like Mayra, Monica, and Gideon. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today as every Wednesday in TLC Live. See you next Wednesday. Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado. And remember to visit us in TexasLatinoConservatives.com. TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Es TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Por favor, visítenos and become a member and help us to help and grow this family.
And by the way, just because we should have said this early on, Tejano Day in Texas, April 6th, passed the House of Representatives, had 12 sponsors. It passed the Senate. The lieutenant governor suspended the rules towards the end of the session so that Senator Eddie Lucio could introduce and have a vote on HCR, House Concurrent Resolution 67, which is declaring April 6th every year as Tejano Day in Texas. And we're anticipating that the governor is going to have a big signing ceremony. We'll keep you posted. We'll put that on our website. We are going to invite everybody to Austin to join us for the signing of a resolution that declares April 6th Tejano Day in Texas. So stay tuned.
Tejanos. Ok, muchas gracias. Chao, chao. Nos
Bye.
vemos el próximo miércoles.